usually there's always ones where we go, let's be honest, lads, we could maybe have a draw there or we could drop points or that's tough and we're still okay. And it's been a proper first world problem season because it's been so good and like a draw's not disaster. I just don't know if because there is only 4 games this season, they all just seem magnified more than anything. I mean, in a weird way, I hate splitting them, but if you are going to lose any of the games, probably this one tonight. You know, if you left the Parc des Princes with a 2-1 defeat, it ain't the worst thing in the world. You still think Anfield under lights, we can turn that around. However, I think you're right, James. Let's be honest. That's the one you'd pick on paper, isn't it? You expect to beat Southampton. You expect to beat Southampton comfortably. That one, then under the lights. And a final's a final. Anything can happen. So it is really difficult to split them, which I appreciate is a total politician's answer. But before anyone starts nailing me on this, let's get into predictions so there can be no hiding place. Jamesy, I'll come to you first of all for this one. Less than 2 hours to go. Parc des Princes against a confident bunch of Parisians. Give me a prediction.
Let's say a draw. Let's go 1 each.
1 each for that one. Mark?
I think this is the hardest one of the 4 to predict because they're blistering in attack, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
I definitely see goals. I think I'm going to go 2-1 them.
Do you know what? I'd almost swither in between. I had a thing at 2-1. The one thing I'm pretty confident, I bet serious money this is not a goalless affair because of the attacks of both and the way. I'm going to go, and maybe it's a little more head than heart, 2-2 in the Parc des Princes tonight. That is what I'm going for. Right, Jamesy, get your abacus out for this. Liverpool, Southampton, triple captain. What you going?
Well, I think 5 or 6-0 I would be happy with, and Salah with a hat trick. That would be lovely.
Bullish there. Paolo Catado saying there he reckons 1-0 to the Pool tonight. Listen, if we can keep PSG to goalless, that will be seriously impressive, but we'll have to see. Jamesy's gone 5 or 6, Mark? Higher or lower?
I think we're kind of a team that once we've taken a strong lead, we tend to just see the game out and control it. So I'm going to go for 3-0.
Well, that's freaking boring, wasn't it? However, at the same time, I kind of think that way, to be honest. I think you'll see like an acceleration into the lead and then just that garbage time, as they call it, where we just knock it around. And in all honesty, everyone starts thinking about this one already in the next game, the PSG return leg, which is where we come to you, Jamesy, because you went draw first leg, Anfield, PSG, under the lights. It will be.
Well, you might think that I'm sniffing glue, but I think we'll hammer them. And the reason being, if you have a look at their squad and you look at how young some of those players are, I just think that Anfield will swallow them up. I think I'll be 3-0 to Liverpool.
3-0. Wow. The only thing incorrect with what you just said is you may think. Now I'm convinced based on that scoreline, so that's fine. Mark?
I actually somewhat agree with that. I think this is for a young
lad.
I think they're going to come, and I think this has all the makings. Assuming it goes in kind of close, it's 1 goal, one way or the other. I think this will be a huge atmosphere under the lights. There's, Messi's Barcelona couldn't handle it. I don't see why these lads will be able to. I think 3-1.
3-1. Okay. I suppose in my head, as I thought about it, I had 2-0, which if you think about it, isn't massively too variant from 3-1 in that regard. But I don't know if we'll blow them away. I think we'll have to ride our luck a bit at times because it's their attacking force more than anything. It's the defence, which is the question mark against it. But
I think we're going to see one of those classic 30 minutes, the first 30. I think we're just going to come out and really, really go for them.
Absolutely batter them. Now, this last one, Sunday the 16th of March, Wembley Stadium. This is super special. All 3 of us are going to be there. It's a cup final. We know how good these days are. Now, it's important to say for context, as we know right now, Anthony Gordon is out and Lewis Hall is out for Newcastle. So it's important we put that on the table. Isak, people are saying, but there's no proof of that. It might just be wishful thinking. Jamesy, I'm not just going to ask you the score. I'm going to ask you normal time, yes or no, and the score.
I think normal time, and I think 2-0. I think it's one of those things. We've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. I think sometimes it can overwash Newcastle. They haven't been there in a long period of time. They're just there. So I think it'll be 2-0 Liverpool.
Mark?
Yeah, my heart says 2-0 Liverpool, but my head says every single time I go down to watch Liverpool at a cup final at Wembley, it goes to penalties. So I'm going 1-1 Liverpool win on penalties.
The only thing about this is it ain't Chelsea. That's a positive, because as soon as you get Chelsea in a cup final, we're like, frig, let's look at the trains or the flight times. It's going to be extra time sort of thing. So maybe just in this one, this is the weirdest scoreline ever for a cup final, but I've got it in my head. 1-0.
No,
a proper 1-0, maybe tight cup final, because it is their season overall. Let's be honest. Everything about Newcastle, you kind of get it. All their focus is on this right now. So, yeah, 1-0. We will find out who is right in the next month or so. And then I can't believe we're actually saying this. A fucking international break. Who the hell puts an international break at this time of the season where there's like titles to be won and different things? You know, if you like your international football, like power to you, but absolute nonsense. So there we go. We have called March, which, if we're all correct in different ways, doesn't end up being a bad month at all. But speaking of the word bad, Jamesy, I've got to come to you for this first of all. Every month, it's like we're on repeat, isn't it? Will there be any updates on the contracts? Yes and no, Jamesy. Let's be honest. There's no official update. There's no one signing, but there's talk galore. David Ornstein joins Lewis Steele from the Daily Mail, Sam Wallace from the Telegraph, and there's these noises coming out consistently. Virgil and Salah, get the names right, are expected to sign. Trent, there's less confidence on. Those are consistent noises from journalists repeatedly. And even in the last few days, this Jamesy, Konate linked with PSG, with Real Madrid. You have been uber positive about this so far. Are you maintaining these uber positive contract levels?
Absolutely. I mean, you would be a fool to think of sure Konate, he's brokering for another deal. So why would he not get his agent to come out and say, look, say Real Madrid are interested and say PSG are interested so they can get a better deal? It's business at the end of the day. So I'm still overconfident. The only thing with Trent is obviously it's going to come down to emotional. It's going to come down to that kind of being a Skyser, boyhood club, loves the club. But again, in the other side of it, is he just exhausted? Is he just he's given it all to Jurgen Klopp and kind of wants just a new adventure? So that's kind of my thought process. But I still honestly do believe BBD and Salah are nailed on, and Trent, I think it will come into, the knock-ins of, we say this every month, but I do think it's going to be the knock-ins of April stroke into June before he kind of makes a decision.
So uber confident Mark turned into maybe there is a question about Trent after all. What about for you, thought-wise?
Yeah, I haven't changed my thought process much at all from where we were kind of pre-Christmas even, which is I still believe and I'm hopeful with Salah and Van Dijk, the noises still lean that way, and until they don't, I don't see any reason to get too upset and worried about it. It's very clear they want to stay, very clear. It's very clear we want them to stay. So, you got to hope that sense prevails there and, we come out with the result we want. The Konate one, I largely agree with James on that one. I think it's no surprise we're seeing him linked with other people while he's in the middle of a contract negotiation. It's literally the oldest trick in the book with those sort of things. Gut feeling he wants to stay. Why wouldn't he? He's playing next to Van Dijk. If Van Dijk signs, there is no better place to play than next to Virgil van Dijk as far as learning your trade and also just having a brilliant guy next to you, to make things just that bit easier. That leaves Trent, and again, I haven't really changed my mind in that I don't understand. I thought in November the fact that he hadn't signed was very telling. He's, like I said, not the same as the other guys with the age excuse or any of these things. He's a guy in his prime that we have wanted to sign up for a number of years, and he hasn't. So to me, that tells its own story. And I think at this stage, it's going to take something really out of the ordinary to change his mind, something, an emotional thing, not something like when we won the Champions League and you saw Gerrard on the field saying, how could I leave now? I think it's going to take something of that ilk, be it knocking Madrid out in the semis or something like that. I think something's going to have to change for us to keep Trent, because as it is, I think he's, a foot and a half out the door. I think he's 80% out.
Hustle Bones there saying he hopes Trent goes and everyone else stays. I think, to be fair, most people hope everyone stays. Whether that's confidence, that is a different thing. Yeah, I kind of think, similar to you, the noises, and there's never any smoke without fire, etc. All the noises around VVD and Salah right now seem quite positive. It's quite clear they want to stay, so you hope that rule overrules everything else. But time is ticking on this. I may be wild on this. I believe if BVD stays, Konate stays, type of thing. I think there's like a big brother, little brother style relationship. I think kind of if big brother puts pen to paper, he'll almost tell little brother, like, right, now you sign yours. That's your job done. That they kind of come as cohorts there. So I expect like a double boost, so to speak, if you get it.
And also be the financial thing as well, right? Like,
if
they might be waiting to see what Salah and VVD get, because that definitely affects the top line of what, a Konate can ask for. So it's sensible almost for him to wait it out and see where that goes.
Yeah, too right. All the chips are on his side of the table. He's the second best centre-half in Europe, isn't he? Everyone wants him if he doesn't. So, yeah, we'll maybe see what happens there. Fingers crossed. And let's just flip it to something a bit different. We talk about contracts. Jamesy, all the names are being linked for summer now, aren't they? You've seen them, whether it be strikers, left-backs, midfielders, all these different types of positions. Any names you're hearing exciting you and think there's something in it?
Isak and Kirkes, this is quite exciting. Those two, I think Isak is a considerable upgrade from what we have, a considerable upgrade. He's strong. We've looked at him before he moved to Newcastle as well. We were very much in the mix looking at him as well. And then Kirkes is just having a great season, energetic, great delivery, decent defender, and it would just be that quality. So again, those two kind of positions, it's an upgrade on what we have at the moment. So those two are the ones that excite me.
A striker and a left back, which probably a lot of people would argue we need as well. Mark, is it them two names or anything else twigging for you?
I think there's loads of exciting stuff kind of doing the rounds. It's a strange thing to say, but because of where we find ourselves in the league, but we actually do have two kind of fairly obvious weaknesses in the side, in that nobody has grabbed the centre forward position at all. Nunes struggles to get in. They've tried Diaz in there, and I think we all agree that hasn't looked the finished article. Jota can't stay fit for any length of time. There isn't an obvious answer to that question other than the transfer market and finding someone else. And left back obviously has looked a weakness kind of all season. Robertson's had a few better games lately, but there's definitely a changing of the guard going to have to happen there, So those are the two positions, without complicating it by talking about like the guys who might leave because of contracts and things like that. Those are the two positions in the current 11 that need upgraded on, essentially. Yeah. And in the centre forward position, I get the Isak stuff. I love Isak. I think he looks great. He's, like James said, a massive upgrade. But I actually was kind of more interested in the Cunha link, just because of the style of play type thing. It's a little bit more Bobby-like in his movements and the positions he takes up and what he would kind of offer. And I still see the strengths of this team, goal scoring wise, coming from the wide positions. And as we know from all those years with Salah, Mane and Bobby, it can really elevate the wide men to have a Cunha around them, creating space, picking the pockets and finding that pass. We don't have that at the moment. So I wonder, is the kind of thought process going on there? Are we looking longer term of kind of replacing Salah's goals, which might lean you more towards an Isak than a Cunha, because you're going to need that guy to actually carry the goal load.
Yeah.
Maybe not next year if Salah stays, but somewhere, that's coming. That, there's no way around that kind of thing. And then I guess the other forward that I found really exciting is Semenyo. I really like Semenyo. I think really fast, powerful guy. We saw against us a couple of times. He creates a yard for himself out of nothing. Very Sadio Mane-like, actually, the way he kind of shifts the ball and finds that moment to strike it. Great striker of a ball. Just an exciting player, kind of all round. Then I guess the last one, I like Kirk as well, like James said, but I like the Wolves left back Nuri as well. I think he's got loads of stuff. Again, we saw it against ourselves when he played the other week, just really competent on the ball, good technician, gets up and down. I think a clear upgrade on the current two that we have. Plenty exciting stuff. It's a scary prospect, but I think it would be fairly easy to make us a better team next season.
Does sound strange, doesn't it? Yeah, because when you're gonna win the title, it looks like it, but still be obvious upgrades in a couple of positions. Hustle Bones there saying Robinson, struggling to see that one because I think he's 28 in the summer from Fulham, despite how well he's done and a bit of a change there. Kirkes does keep coming up. You can't ignore that name. It's repeated time and time again. Whether you fully want him as your left back, that it does seem to be the one. Yeah, it's funny with the forward line. The only thing that does concern me a little bit to what you said, Mark, that if it is Isak, if it is doable, Newcastle don't get Champions League, Liverpool will put the 120 million on the table, whatever it's going to take. There's a part of me thinks the only way they're doing that is if Salah's not sticking around, because you are changing the focal point of the attack completely. You can't pay 120 million for a striker and then not make him the focal point of your attack, which, as we said, number 9 right now is not the focus point. There's no two ways about it. It's the wingers who come in. You think the goals this season, if it's not Salah, it's been Gakpo on the left, hasn't it? Or Diaz is the third one. The number 9 hasn't really been sort of that point, and Jota's never available. And Núñez, well, we all remember Aston Villa and what we expect to happen in the summer. Jamesy, final question on this. If Isak comes, because you're adamant that these 3 are signing, or Trent's maybe the one, but the other 2. If Isak comes, do you think Mo Salah definitely stays?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're seeing an evolution into what Slot wants to do when he's playing his 4 in midfield. So his confidence with Jones, McAllister, and Grav and Szoboszlai. So there's the 4 in midfield, and then you've got like a transition with Salah and Isak on front, and obviously you've got Gakpo in there. But there's I honestly do believe that he stays. Yeah, I do.
Interesting, Mark. Any real chance you think for Isak? Because you kind of said, yeah, I like him, but when you answered earlier.
Well, it's just the money, as always. We're going to be working on a budget this summer, and a lot of it would go there. You'd be 100 plus to get him. It sounds like you would get Cunha for maybe almost half that kind of fee, somewhere in the 60s, maybe 60, 70 for him if there is a release. And I think with the contracts and the ideas that other guys might come and go, we might be looking for a new right back to start. We're probably looking for a new left back to start. Yeah. We probably still need cover in defensive midfield going forward. It looks like they're keen on a wide man as well. There's quite a lot of incomings to get through there. And if you blow all of your budget or most of it on Isak, it just becomes more difficult in other areas. I don't see there being an issue with Salah and him playing together. Mo's a super, we've seen it even with Darwin, for example. Mo seems to be able to find a way to link with most strikers. It hasn't worked so well with Diaz because he kind of gravitates left.
Yeah.
But certainly with Nunes, the runs in behind, he looks to love that. He looks for those balls all the time. He plays off Nunes. We know it worked with the other kind of striker when we had Bobby with him as well. I think Mo's just one of those kind of high-level intelligence players that finds a way to make it work with either. So I wouldn't be like super worried about Mo and a striker. I would just be more worried that the outlay of how much it would cost to bring an Isak in.
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? The other thing I keep thinking about Isak is, which we kind of alluded to a little bit earlier in the show as well, injuries. The boy is injured quite a bit. And the one strength we always talk about with Mo Salah is his availability. He's just always there, isn't he? Isak hasn't completed 3,000 minutes in a single season. And to be spending 120 million or whatever it could take to get him in, there's just a few question marks there. And yeah, Helio Matias not sort of reassuring us there, but it's true. Does sound like Real Madrid are pursuing Konate as well, but we'll have to see what happens with his proposal. It's one of those, ladies and gents. Off the field, it's weird, isn't it? There's question marks galore about contracts, existing stars. Will they stay? Will they not? There's question marks then about who's coming in, who might be departing, left back, strikers, wingers. God, we didn't even talk about a 6 in this one yet. That's been the talk for the last few years. So many questions. And yet, all this, while the Reds are 13 points clear at the top of the league, and they've got to navigate a tough tie in Paris and back. There could even be further glory on the horizon, and that's even before the end of March. We will have to see what unfolds. All that leaves me to say as ever is, Jamesy Mark, for the insights, for the predictions. It is much appreciated, gents.
Pleasure, mate.
Thank you.
Up the Reds.
And ladies and gents, that was another Red Alert for Anfield Index.